Trinomials. $30, it's Trinomial.
It's Trinomial.
Here's how.
Life is about to get a little more complicated for you youngsters here. Today's little topic is, what do we do? What do we do when this happens? Here we go. Ready? 4x squared. No, let's not do that one. I'm going to do this one. 3x squared minus 11x minus 4. You have that there? Yes. Now, please understand this. If you're asked to factor this, okay, the first thing you always do, and believe you me, I struggle with this as well. Before you even start to think about this problem, look for a common factor. In other words, can you take something out of each of those three terms? Before you even start, you got to do that. In this case, you can't, because I can't factor 3 out of all 3, or 11, or 4, or any of that stuff there. Got that? Okay. Now, here, what's the difference between what we did the other day and what we're doing now? Is now there happens to be a number in front of the x squared. And that really kind of throws a wrench into the whole situation. Okay, because when you do that reverse FOIL thing, you've got a few more things to think about. If you look at your notes, okay, the first thing you have to do is figure out what times what gives you this. Because we're factoring it into 2 binomials. Okay? Now this is nice because there is only one way to get 3x squared.
3x squared.
There's 3x times x. Okay, the only way to get x squared is to have a 3x and an x, or a 1x if you will. Okay, but the problem is later on, if I put a 4 there, you've got a couple other choices, because you could have 4x times 1, you could have 2 times 2, and you have to consider them all when you think about that. Now why does that cause us a trouble? Because, think about this. Your second step is to still think about all the different ways to get -4. -4, you could have -4 plus 1, plus 4 minus 1, -2 plus 2. I guess those are the only 3 choices, right? There's nothing else. Okay? That's still what you do there, but what you have to remember is whatever number you put over here, like let's say I put the plus 2 over there and the minus 2 there, when you figure out how to get the middle term, this one over here gets multiplied by this to figure out that middle term. 3 times 2, you get a 6x there, and here you get a minus 4x. And when you put those together, do you get a -11? You don't. Okay, so then you have to try something. You could switch. Wait, that's not right.
That's supposed to be a 2.
This is supposed to be a 2. You still don't get it, because you get a 2. All right, so then you try switching them around. Maybe you put the -2 there and the +2 there. Well, that gives you -6x plus 2. You still don't get an 11. So then you have to try your 4s. A -4 and a +1. -4 times this is a -12, and then +1 and that is a +1, and lo and behold, that does give you a -11. So my answer to this is 3x plus 1 times x minus 4. That first term there just complicates the whole thing on how you find your middle term, because one of them, it has to get multiplied by that. And again, after you do a couple of these, it gets a little easier. You're not going to blindly go. I mean, you think about how to get an 11. I mean, you can't put a 1 there or whatever there. Let me give you another example. Should we go for a jugular hard one?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Boy. How about this one? 4x squared plus 4x minus 3. 4x squared plus 4x minus 3. This one isn't so bad because there's only so many ways you can get -3. But here is what you have to think about. How many different ways I could get 4x squared? I could have a 2x here and a 2x there. Or I could have a 4x and an x there. So you gotta, if you can't get something to work out one way, you have to try all the rest of those. And then how many different ways can you get -3? You could have -3 +1, or you could have +3 -1. The nice thing is there's not many choices there either. Knowing that you've got to get a +4x middle term, that's the key. So let's just trial and error. What if I put a -3 here and a +1 there? What do I get? You have to multiply these two together. -3 and 2 is?
-6.
-6, and a +2 is?
2. 2x.
-6 and a +2 is?
Oh, 4.
-4. Now the nice thing is, that's opposite what it should be, so that means probably the answer is to switch this to its opposite and this to its opposite. Now I have a +6 and a -2, and that gives me +4. So you can stop there because we got it there, and you didn't have to think about this other case over here. Oh, good. I can tell you're mesmerized by that. Here you go. Check this one out. I'll find a good one for you. How about 9x squared plus 38x? 9x squared plus 38x. I'll let you try this on your own. Plus 8. Scary thing maybe is lots of different factors for 8. 1 and 8, 2 and 4. I guess there's not that many. See if you can figure out which one gives you that, and we'll talk about how you got that. I will give you 5 seconds. 4, 3. Are you done? See if you can figure out the combo. And there are some clues there, ladies and gentlemen. What clues you ask, Carter Westfall?
Clues I ask.
What is the only way to get both the second and the third terms to be positive? Is for both of them to be positive. All of your factors have to be positive. Otherwise you'd get a negative middle term. And maybe we'll explore that. That's a good teacher word. We'll explore that a little later. So a little like farming. Why do we rotate crops?
So you can get a good yield.
What's that got to do with anything? What does rotating have to do with getting good yields?
Because if you keep on cutting corn on corn and corn, it keeps using up all the nutrients.
You mean corn and beans use different nutrients?
I don't know if that's what my dad told me because
Corn on corn, bean on bean. Why not go corn, bean, wheat? Sugar
there
beets.
isn't like a market for wheat around here.
Oh.
And we don't have to use anything like straw really. So
Answers we have? No? Oh, Brand Tracy's got one. Again, you get better at doing this as time goes on here. Let me, before you answer, try to help you out with a little bit of stuff here. Like I was saying, take a look up here. The only way to get both of these to be positive are for both of these to be positive. Why? Because if they were opposite signs, if you used a +8 and a -1, you can't do +8 and -1 because that's positive. So if they were both negative, this is my other option, then my middle term would have to be negative because there's no other way, because this would be a negative times a positive and a negative times a positive. So the only way to get a positive and a positive is for both of these to be positive. No other way. So you can use the little hint there. Now, if I did this, I was saying, okay, 3x and 3x. That's one way to get 9x squared. The other way is to get 9x times x. Only two ways to get 9x squared, correct? And then here's kind of a clue. That's a pretty big number there. Pretty big number there. So it means some of my things got to be at least relatively big. If I said 8 was 4 and 2, what am I going to get for a middle term? 3 times 4 is 12. 12 and 6 is 18. And it isn't going to matter if I switch them because they're the same. If I put the 2 here and the 4 there, I'm still going to get the same thing because it's still 3 times 4. So I try 8. What if I put an 8 here and a 1 there? 8 times 3 is 24, plus 3 is 27. Still doesn't get me to 38. So I can pretty much rule out that it's the 3x in the beginning. So then I go to the 9x. Now, again, they both have to be plus. If I put an 8 here, what's 8 times 9?
72.
Way higher than that. So the only way this is going to work out is if well, I could put an 8 here. If I put an 8 here and a 1 there, that gives me 9 plus 8, which is only 17. So it's going to have to be 4. I'll put my 4 there because that'll give me 36. And a 2 there. 36 and 2 is 38. Now this should be the factor of that. How many people got that? Anybody? Wow, only 2. Where did we get lost? Anybody? Goss, what happened there?
I forgot, I only did the 3x.
Oh, yeah, you can't forget there's always factors. How about this one? Here's a good one. 6x squared minus 5x minus 4. 6x squared minus 5x minus 4. And here again, before you start, the only way to get a negative and a negative there, well, I guess one has to be negative, one has to be positive. That's the only way you're going to get 2 negatives. They both can't be positive because that would give you something else. You couldn't get the only way to get a negative number there is for 1. So you know right away one's going to be something plus something, one's going to be something minus something going in. And fortunately for you, there's a couple different ways to split up 6. Not many ways to do 4. There's an old saying out there that said if math was easy, everybody would do it. Wait a minute. Do you have to do it?
Yes.
That's exciting. Done? Savage, you got it. Close? In the ballpark? Your negatives have to be bigger than your positives. Gosh, you gotta dig to this one. This one is not so bad. All right, boys and girls, we can't take forever to do this. So, if you're looking at this, all right, let's say I'm doing this one. If I split 4 into 2 times 2, you know, you can do this really quickly by looking at this. This times this gives you 6, this times this gives you 4. There's no way to get a 5 with a 6 and a 4, all right? So you can automatically say it's not the 2's. So let's try the other ones, which are 4 and 1. 4 and 1. 1 and 3 gives you 3. 4 and 2 gives you 8. Can you get a 5 with an 8 and a 3?
Yes.
Yes. So that's probably your deal. You just have to figure out which one is which. Well, the 5 is negative, so your bigger number needs to be negative. So your 8 would need to be negative, and your other one would need to be positive. And you can stop right there, because that is it. 3x minus 4, 2x plus 1. And we didn't have to go there, because it wasn't needed. If you did go there, it would be kind of easy there. And the last one. Let's do one that has this. Check this one out. 6x squared plus 11xy plus 4y squared. Please don't let these extra letters mess you up because they really don't come into play. You just need to know that there's going to be a y tacked on the end of these. The first ones still get their x's. And you just go about the same exact way trying to figure out your numbers. Somehow you have to start, use the 6, 4 at the end and get an 11 in the middle. Seems like we did one like this. 6, 2, 12, no. 2, 3, 12, no, maybe. It's all about practice. Parker, did you get it?
No.
Did you get any of them yet?
This one. I was using the wrong factors on the first one.
Well, that won't help. Guaranteed, if you use the wrong factors, things will not go well. Once again, the nice thing about this, you don't really have to worry about your pluses and minuses because they both have to be positive. The only way to get a positive end and a positive middle is for both of them to be positive. Can't do it any other way. So that should at least help you out to figure it out what you get there. Procopus, you get it?
I think so.
I love it. Alright, Carolyn, so what did you come up with? Let's see if it works.
3x
3x plus
4
4y and
2x
2x plus 1. So does that work? I get a 3 there, and I get an 8 there, and they're both positive, so you get the 11xy. This, ladies and gentlemen, is correct.
Got that one.
Look at how pretty that is.
Okay.
If I did this, would that make it better?
It's the Soviet
Fancy
Union.
one, right?
What is it?
College.
Alright, for tomorrow.
College.
We got 20 minutes.
I say we do 10 problems. 2 minutes per problem.
I say we do 1 through 15. Look at page, look at lesson 75, page 497, please.